Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you are enjoying your day so far. So, today's lesson is going to be over the topics of introduction to integers, compare and order integers, and absolute value. So, what are integers? Integers are positive whole numbers and negative numbers, including 0. We can use number lines to represent integers. Now, let's take a look at this number line here. 0 is what we're going to call our dividing point. The reason I'm calling it the dividing point is if I look, it doesn't match the red, nor does it match the blue. So we would say 0 is neither positive nor negative, okay? It's neutral. Now, let's talk about our positive integers. Positive integers are going to be to the right of 0. These are the numbers you are used to dealing with. Then to the left of 0, we're going to have our negative numbers. Now, something I want you to notice is what's happening with our numbers going to the left. If you said it looks like they're going backwards, you are correct, okay? It's backwards compared to our positives, and that's going to be something we are going to want to remember. All right. So let's look at some real world examples. All right. So you found $5. Does that mean you are being given money or money is being taken away? Well, since we found $5, that means the money is for us. So this is going to be a positive. So we would say this is 5. The next one, you dive 7 meters under the water. So if this is the water here, let's say this is 0. Okay? Above means we're getting bigger. Below means we're getting smaller. So since we're going under the water below, that's going to be a negative. So we would say this is represented by -7. So what I want you to do right now, pause the video and try these on your own. All right, hopefully you paused the video and you're not just going through this. So 15 degrees above, well, it's gone above, we're getting bigger. That's going to be a positive 15. Elevator goes down 4 levels. Well, we're going down, so that tells me this is going to be a -4. 3 miles above, we're getting bigger, so that's just going to be 3. And 9 step backward. So we could say that's backwards is like going down. So that's going to be a -9. All right. The next the next word we need to talk about is going to be the word opposite. So opposites are two numbers that are the same distance from 0 on the number line. So if I look at my number line here, okay, let's start with 3. And I'm going to put a dot on 3. The opposite of 3, right, since this is a positive, the opposite is going to have to be a negative. So I'm going to put my dot on -3. Now let's see if they are truly opposites. Okay, so it has to be the same distance. So from 0, I have 1, 2, 3. That is good. And then from 0, I have 1, 2, 3. So -3 and 3 are opposites. So I want you to pause this video right now, and I want you to figure out what would the opposites of these numbers down here be. All right, hopefully you paused it. So if I asked you for the opposite of -1, you should have said the opposite is 1. If I have positive 10, the opposite has to be a negative, and that's going to be 10. The opposite of -7 is 7. And the opposite of 6 is -6. So remember, opposites, you are allowed to have negative numbers. All right, now let's talk about comparing numbers. So our positive numbers, okay, like 1 through 10, are going to be like normal. If I wanted to compare 2 and 3, I know 3 is the bigger number, okay? What we need to talk about is negative numbers. So we said they are working backwards. So one thing we're going to want to remember is the further away a negative is from 0, the smaller the number. So if I wanted to compare -1 and -2, okay, which one is further away, -1 or -2? Hopefully you said -2 is further away. Therefore, that is going to be my smaller number. So if I wanted to compare, I would say -2 is less than -1. Now I can do the same thing with -4 and 5. So I'll plot my point. All right, and let's compare. This one's a little easier. If you have a positive and a negative, the positive number is always going to be bigger than the negative. So I would say -4 is less than 5. So let's look at this example. Which number is bigger? I'm going to use my number line, -2 or -7. So once again, ask yourself, which one is further from 0? -7 is further, so that has to be the smaller number. So that tells us since -2 is closer to 0, that -2 will be the bigger number. All right, the next one, which number is smaller, -1 or -10? So since we're looking for smaller, I want to see which dot is further away. Well, that's going to be -10 is going to be the smaller number. All right, now what I may ask you to do is order a set of numbers. So I give you the numbers here, and I want you to plot them on your number line. And I didn't do this, but I would suggest marking off as you go so you can make sure to get each number. So the first thing I'm asking you is, I want to know the order from least to greatest. Well, since I plotted them on a number line, okay, and all you have to do now is look from left to right, because the further away from 0, the smaller the number. So I have -8, then -2, 0, then 5. Now I could also do the same in order from greatest to least. Well, we know the bigger numbers are further to the right, so I know my biggest number is 5, then 0, then -2, then -8. So once again, I would suggest plotting this on a number line and then just read from left to right or right to left, depending on what it's asking you. Now, I'm asking you to compare these integers using less than or greater than. So you can take a moment, pause the video, and do this on your own. All right, hopefully you paused. So let's take a look. I have 4 and I have 2. Well, we're not going to change up anything with positive numbers. Think of this. Would you rather have $4 or $2? I personally want more money, so I would want the $4. So 4, sorry, that's a terrible sign. Let's try that again. A little better. 4 is greater than 2. Our next example, I have negative 32 and I have 2. Well, we said if we have one positive, one negative, that the positive number is automatically bigger. So we would say negative 32 is less than 2. Now this last one, negative 3 and negative 5. Some of you may go, oh, 5's the bigger number. Well, we have a negative on it. So if I were you, I may draw a little number line here. And plot your points. So I have negative 3 and negative 5. Well, I can see that negative 3 is closer to 0, so negative 3 has to be the bigger number. All right, the last thing we need to talk about is the term absolute value. Oops, not what I wanted. All right, absolute value is the distance a number is from 0. Now, we've seen this statement before when it with our opposites example. Okay, so they share a common definition. However, there is something different. Absolute value, your answer is always a positive number. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a moment. Now, how we identify absolute value is by this symbol. Okay, it looks like 2 parallel lines with a number inside. So when I see this, it means absolute value. Now, instead of this X, you may have a positive or a negative number in there. Let's take a look. I am asking for the absolute value of 15. Well, I said it always has to be a positive, so the absolute value is going to be 15. It'll be the same number. Well, what about this next one? I'm asking for the absolute value of negative 23. Well, I just told y'all, it has to be positive. So instead of writing negative 23 as my answer, I'm going to say that the absolute value is 23. And then the last one, the absolute value of negative 3, well, it can't be a negative, so it's going to be 3. So if I asked you for the absolute value of negative 10, you would tell me it is what? Hopefully you said 10. Now, let's do another example. The absolute value of 5 should be what? It should be 5. Now I'm going to throw something in there. What if I ask for the opposite of 5? Can opposites be negative? The answer to that is yes. Opposites can be negative. Okay? Absolute value is going to be a positive number no matter what. Opposites can be a negative. All right. So the next thing we need to talk about is your assignment. All right. So your assignment for today is going to be right here. Intro to Integers Homework. So I'm going to click on that. And it's going to take me to this form here. You're going to need to complete this by the next time we meet. Okay, so this is due by our next class. And if you have questions, you can review this video or look at the notes that you took today. Please let me know if y'all have any questions.